Hey guys, what's going on? So today we're going to be doing part 4 of my Minecraft survival world showcase, whatever I'm calling it. I really need to come up with a proper title for this series. So today we're going to be covering the Desert City, and this is that. Um, so a little bit of history on this place. The Desert City is actually just south of Diamond City. Now Diamond City is way off in that direction, and it's beyond those trees. But if we take a look here, the Desert City actually has a subway that leads to Diamond City. So if we go down here, I mean, it's blocked off now, or at least it was blocked off. But there used to be a rail cart that would go all the way in that direction to Diamond City. So that was kind of a big deal back then. Now, the reason the Desert City was built in the first place, at the time that we created it, this is when they had just introduced villager trading to the game. And we only had two villagers in the in Diamond City. So we had found this little village here, which, looking at it now, it's actually quite small, but that's because in modern Minecraft, villages tend to be bigger than they used to be. But at the time, this village was huge. Now, mind you, half these buildings are player created, so they weren't here. But at the time, this village was huge, and for one reason or another, I remember there were about 30 villagers that would just go in and out of these houses, which never made sense to me, but they actually made their own iron golems. We didn't make those. They made their own iron golems. Now, unfortunately, this was the site of several faction wars, which led to all of the villagers being killed. There's not a single surviving villager, but it doesn't look like much, but this city actually was very important for a very long time. As you can see, there's a jungle next to it, or at least what was a jungle, and this is actually the largest jungle in the original part of the world. So, what happened to all the trees is they were mined. Now, something interesting too to note, aside from the desert city itself, you won't find buildings made from jungle wood really at all. And that's because jungle wood on this world was predominantly used for making things like sticks and the planks were used in like redstone builds and not so much for actual construction. Jungle wood was kind of, we all thought it was ugly, and it was basically the cheapest economically. So if you wanted to buy wood for whatever, you would buy jungle wood if you wanted to buy it in bulk and cheap. And that's because, like in the mine in Diamond City, we actually had a lot of different people that would come on here and play, especially newer players would go on here, and their job would usually be to mine wood. The three primary industries of the Desert City consisted of mining, wood collecting, and so mining, logging, and farming. That was another thing. Before the South District, as I talked about in my last episode, the South District didn't used to exist at one point. At one point, most of the wheat on the world and the crops actually came from the wheat farms of the Desert City. And that's why the minecart was made in the subway, because the thing is, we needed ways to get wheat back and forth quickly. Now, if memory serves, I can go into the creative inventory here. Actually, no, they do have minecart with chests. They've removed they removed minecarts with furnaces, but yeah. So what we used to do is we'd place one of these down. If I can't place it without a rail. I thought you used to be able to place it without a rail. I don't know. Bedrock changed some things, but so we basically place these down in the subway, load up all the wheat in here, and then we would send it, give it a push, and send it back to Diamond City, which is way over there. So you'd have to go through the forest. I mean, at the time, that forest was plains. It wasn't a forest. But you'd have to go through the plains and all that, and it was kind of risky. So what ended up happening is, as time went on, the Desert City went from kind of a respectable colony, per se, to basically the slums. What happened is, during the faction wars, a lot of the villagers got killed. So the wealthier people that used to go to the Desert City to trade and do things like that didn't want to go there anymore because there was no villagers left to trade with. And then the occupants of the Desert City basically became very poor. The only things that they really had to trade was wood, and jungle wood wasn't really that much. And then when the forest got put up over there, and more trees started being mined down in that direction by Diamond City, the need for wood from the Desert City kind of just disappeared, and nobody really wanted it anymore. So their biggest industry was gone. And then when the South District came into play, there was no farming industry here anymore because, well, the farms were still here. Nobody actually wanted any of the wheat or the crops from the farm. Not to mention that the South District produced way more crops than the Desert City did. So, unfortunately for a lot of people, they kind of lost their jobs, basically, and in turn, this place became a bit of a slum. And then what happened is low-skilled players, or just players that we didn't want. Actually, at one point, there were a lot of like little kids joining the world, and they would violate very, very basic laws and stuff in Diamond City. So we used to send them, as part of punishment, we would kind of send them to the Desert City, and they weren't allowed to return to Diamond City. They could live within the faction, and yeah, because you had little kids playing on the world, and they would just kind of troll each other and steal from each other. So after a while, I appointed somebody as mayor, one of the more trustworthy kids on the world. I appointed as mayor, and this was the house that he lived in. Why the bottom floor is sand, I don't know. I guess they didn't put in a floor all the way, but this is the house that they lived in. There used to be a bed up here, I remember. But yeah, they used to live in this mansion, and their job was, I remember I used to pay them $200 of in-game currency a day. Not every day that they came online, every in-game Minecraft day, I used to pay them $200 every in-game day to police the Desert City and to keep all the kids under control. And it didn't work so well. Said, things just kind of got worse and worse and worse, and eventually it just became a ghost town. Now, at one point, back before then, there used to actually be a decent mining business down here, and, oh, hello, it's a parrot. That's my parrot. How about that? So, at one point, there used to be a decent mining business down here, and there was actually this one guy that started his own faction. He had like 4 or 5 of his own people, and the problem was, they tried to start their own faction, but they were living inside of a city that was owned by my faction, while simultaneously calling it their own faction's headquarters. So that kind of started a little bit of a conflict, and we ended up killing them, and we killed his entire faction off. He had a base down here somewhere that's mostly blown up with TNT. I'm not sure where that base actually is. But you can kind of see here, they had a bunch of crafting tables, and they had a mine going down here. So what ended up happening is I actually got DDoSed by the leader of the faction because he got really pissed off that I killed him off. But so I got DDoSed, and oh, here it is. Here's their base. This is what remains of it anyway. They actually have chests down here still. I wonder if there's anything in them. Nothing of interest, but yeah. So that's kind of the story behind the Desert City, and wow, they're pretty deep underground. But that's the story behind the Desert City. So if you like this video, leave a like on it. Subscribe if you want to see more. I'm going to be showing off a place called Fort Noob in my next video. So that should definitely be interesting. So yeah, that being said, thank you for watching. Goodbye. Have a great day. Stay safe as always. And I'm out.